This is a Hot Pie Original.
Welcome, kings, queens, gods, goddesses. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm Amy Edwards, and welcome to the Amy Edwards Show. I'm just so damn happy that you're here, that I'm here, that we're all here, that Hot Pie Media is here. And so welcome. Today, I'm stoked. We're going to talk about intuition. And our guest is Caitlin Howe. She is brilliant and badass and way tuned in and tapped in. So thank you so much. If you haven't already subscribed and all that good stuff, rate, review, I'm so grateful and appreciative. If you can do that, it helps us out. You know, you hear it on every podcast because it totally matters. So thank you in advance. So let's get to today's episode. I'm really excited. Let's do this. I'm just sitting here sniffing my Palo Santo, which I intentionally light with everyone. And you know what? They say it clears the air. I've said this a million times, but they say it clears the air and clears these charged particles. But I just like the way it smells, and it cues me to slow down and get intentional, which is what I'm trying to do with these shows. So welcome. So glad you're here. And today we're talking about intuition as a superpower, which Caitlin brings up today. And I'm stoked about that because it's true. And I haven't really thought of it as that. And so it's really fun to hear her perspective on that and embrace her perspective on that too. So one of the things I've been thinking about with intuition is I think a lot about chakras and all that. You know, our chakras are basically a little rainbow of points that move through our body, starting with the bottom, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, up to our crown chakra. And I've been pretty tapped into them. I got my Reiki master certification last year, and Reiki is a lot about moving that energy. It's a universal life force energy channeling. And so it's a lot about that energy in our chakras. And I've thought a lot about keeping them open, and my heart chakra, my throat chakra, which has been a massive one for me because a couple of years back, I lost my voice for about 6 or 7 months. And that was a really tough time for me because I've leaned into the fact that my voice is my medium. And so that's been a big focus for me. I'm always focusing on my third eye. I'm focusing on my root chakra. Anyway, I focus on all of them except for one. There's one that I completely neglect. So I got to give a shout out to this woman, Chelsea Schultz. And I think she's at Chelsea M. Schultz on Instagram. I have it. I'll pull it up. And I'll put a link up for sure in the show notes. I met her on Clubhouse, of all things. We were in a Clubhouse room, both as speakers. It was one of those that like blew up, and it had like 90 speakers or something at some point. But she reached out to me afterward and was like, I feel called to do a chakra reading for you and balancing, or something like that, she called it. And I was like, well, hell yeah, absolutely. And so we did. So I devoted about an hour to that one evening, and she just tapped into me with her intuition. And she was like, I feel called to talk about your solar plexus chakra, which is yellow. It's like, you know, down where your solar plexus is, like your stomach area. And I was like, my solar plexus, that's the one I neglect. And I was like, well, I guess so. I mean, nothing about that excited me. I was like, come on, where's my throat? Where's my third eye? Anyway, I was like, fine, I'm going to trust my intuition too, to trust her intuition. And I was like, if that's what she feels called to do, let's do it. So she did this really wild and cool exercise with me where we were on Zoom. She had me close my eyes and imagine my eyeballs going into my body and going all the way down, like into and looking at all my different chakras and all my body parts and all that. I know. I still can picture my little eyeballs, right? Traveling down my body all the way to my solar plexus, and then delving into what you see there. And a little bit of background in this, I've been doing a lot of hape, which is like a tobacco that's ground up and you blow it up your nose. I know. If you don't know what it is, that's a topic for another day we'll get into, and you can look it up. It's called Arape or Hape. And it's a really beautiful ritual and exercise to tap you more into meditative state and get you grounded. Anyway, I dig it. But when I've been doing it, it's been making me a little bit sick to my stomach and right where that chakra is that I completely ignore. So when my eyeballs got down there, they saw this like box that was yellow inside, because that's the color of it. It's the yellow one, which is like a fire and light. And she was saying, this is where your soul lies. This is where your light is, which I'm all about shining light. I'm always talking about let's get shinier, let's rise, let's, become our shiniest versions. And so my eyeballs get down there and I see this box with yellow light inside of it. And it almost looks like a gnarly, nasty Tupperware box. And it had like gunk around the edges. And I was like, wow, what? I need to clean this thing off. How the hell do I clean this off? And I was so surprised. And I just realized it was from not giving that part of myself any attention. Like when I say neglected it, I totally just would skip right over it. It meant nothing to me. Isn't that sad? And maybe you're big into your solar plexus. I don't know. And like chastising me. So I deserve to be chastised for it because I was really not tuning into something that was really important. And so I thought maybe also that those hot bay experiences were showing me that something was off there, that I needed to pay attention to it. And instead, I was even ignoring that, like when I got nauseous. And there's been other things I've done too that I get a little nauseous, I get a little sick feeling. And I've tried to just take that as my intuition or my physicality somatically showing me, hey, pay attention to me. Hey, look at me. Hey, let's do something here. So I guess I was just kind of like, I don't even know what to do. And so I thought, well, if this was, a real item that my eyeballs saw, I would just simply rinse it off and maybe even throw that nasty Tupperware box away and just let it shine. How do you do that? And I didn't know, I talked to Chelsea about it. And I can't remember what she said. I have a recording of it. I should look it up. But I intuitively over time have just realized that all I have to do to let that shine is intuitively just pay attention to it. Just give it a little bit of attention and allow it to be open and allow it to shine. And I've noticed so many times I imagine it shining up. But lately I've been like, no, you know what? It shines down into your root chakra and your sacral, and it shines down into the ground, and it shines out this way, that way, like every direction imaginable out of you. It shines. Just let it shine. And so I guess I just wanted to take this minute to encourage you to pay attention to maybe where you haven't and the things that you might neglect, even if it's a relationship or something like that, and know that intuitively you can have the answer. You don't have to go figure it out necessarily. Just by sitting and being and looking at it, that's enough. That's really powerful. There's power in just being and just sitting. Somebody was telling me a story the other day. He was going through some grief with someone who had passed away, and another friend just came over and just sat there. And he was like, that made all the difference. That was the type of friend I needed. And, so many times we try to fill those holes. We try to do it right. We try to say something, the right thing, and fill that space. And what I experienced with my solar plexus chakra is kind of the same thing. Like, can you just sit there and see it, be with it? Like, just like his friend did with him. And even when we were maybe reaching out to a friend, maybe you don't even know what to say. So many times I'll just go, I don't know what to say, but I'm just here, and I love you. And I feel like that's what I said to my chakra. Like, I'm just here and I love you. I want to see you shine. So like, cool. Let's just wipe off the gunk and let it be. Throw the Tupperware away. I hope that makes some sense. I think it does. And there's plenty of spaces in our lives where we can do that. So that said, let's move on to talk more about our superpower intuition, which I'm so excited. Caitlin Howe is joining us today. Caitlin is one of my coaches in Fit for Service, which I have talked about plenty of times on this show. It's the Aubrey Marcus coaching group, and it's been really powerful in my life. And so connecting with her as my coach has been really incredible. She's shown me a lot of things that have been very valuable. So she agreed to come on the show, and I'm thrilled. Now you can find her at her new website, poetqueen.com, or on Instagram. She has a great Instagram. It's at The Poet Queen. So let's jump right in with Caitlin, and major gratitude. Stick around to the end because I'm going to do a little wrap up then as well. So I'll see you then. I'm so excited. Hi.
Hi, girl.
So one of the things I've started to do every time is get super intentional, like as soon as we sit down. So I light a little something. I light my Palo Santo that we keep here in Hot Pie Media Studio. And so I've got sand on it, so it's like slow to light. But I don't know, are you feeling an intention today as we sit down?
Oh, good question. I think it's just opening a channel for anything that wants to come through for whoever's listening. That's kind of where I'm at right now, is just allowing.
I've been really into that word allowing lately. And I think mine was just like to lift up your message because it's so, it's powerful, and you have a really, really good way of putting it out there. I think, I know you're stepping into being a writer more in your own life. And one of the things that you've said to me has like so stuck with me. And I think about it literally every day. And so when I was reading, I send these little questions out just for you to fill out. And one of the things you said was in your work, you focus on self-care, spiritual discovery, and healing through intuitive ritual and radical, authentic expression, shadow work, and overcoming shame. I love all that so much. But I found healing through intuitive ritual super, super interesting. So I kind of want to start off talking about that because we went to a harp meditation.
Yes, we did.
which was amazing. I highly recommend it. And she played plants too, which was weird and awesome. Yeah. And you said something about intuitive mudra, which of course, if anybody doesn't know, a mudra is, a hand position that you use in meditation. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And you were just talking about doing it intuitively. And literally every time I meditate, I think about that.
Wow. Yeah. I love, over the past year in particular, I've really been cultivating a relationship with my intuitive guidance. And it kind of started with, I think where it really came online for me was really connecting to what my hands wanted to do. And I think the hands are incredible entities. It's like they're connected to a deeper level of consciousness where they move without you having to direct or think too much about what they're doing. And if you really take a step back and think about how your hands operate for you all day, they're so intuitively guided. They're so intelligent. And so when you allow yourself to feel the reality that, I'm operating constantly with this other force in me that knows exactly what to do next without me thinking about it, and is kind of, sitting behind the ego identity and witnessing and guiding, it feels like they're connected to that intuitive place that we all have that we don't honor. We focus so much on, the mind and what we think we should do and what the environment's telling us to do. But the hands, to me, it kind of just clicked for me these are connected to my intuition. So I started playing with, just seeing what they wanted to do, when I was in meditation, where do they want to go?
Is that where this came from? It's you just started in meditation and noticing?
To be honest, it happened for me on a plant medicine journey with ayahuasca. And I was fascinated at how they just really, really started moving in these fantastic ways, almost like a language.
What?
Yeah. And I came home with this big curiosity about what is that? What is this language beyond words that, and it's funny you talk about me being good with my words, but I'm even more curious now about what's the intuitive language that we all carry that we don't even know,
Well, yeah. Didn't you have an experience where you spoke a light language or something?
I did. Yeah. And that was all kind of coming from the same place. So
we may talk about that. We may talk about that
in myself and in other people.
Well, so I'm making a note about that because I kind of want to come back to that. What about intuitive ritual? So did this all kind of come from that ayahuasca journey? You got more about intuitive ritual? Because I've never even heard that term, but I like it because I do it.
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't know I did it. And I didn't know I did the intuitive mudra either. But I think I'm on track for intuitive ritual. And I try to encourage that in people. Like it falls back into that right and wrong thing that we've talked about before. Because I'll say in the intro, you were my coach for Fit for Service, have been, and have encouraged me in that regard. And I've talked a lot on this podcast already about that experience.
Yeah.
So anyway, intuitive ritual.
Yeah. So for me, that's like, I think when we embark on our spiritual journey, whatever that looks like for each of us, the natural first step is to learn from other people and to start experimenting with different ways that you can connect to the divine. And so we learn structure. I mean, even, I was born into a Catholic family. And so I learned ritual through my religion. And I didn't even connect to that that's ritual, but it is. Mm-hmm. And so when I started getting this, like directing myself more towards the relationship with my intuitive guidance, the question became, okay, I have these practices. I have this structure that I know is a gateway to the divine, but what do I want? Like, what do I want to create? What brings me joy? What feels right for me? And that is a beautiful place to start to really get connected with your intuitive voice. Because if you say, and it doesn't have to be, I think ritual can be a little bit,
like off-putting a little bit.
Off-putting for some people because it sounds, witchy or whatever, just really, really out there. But we have ritual all the time. Our daily routines
making coffee.
Yes.
Or whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So I love getting excited about that and dropping into more presence with what am I doing every day that is ritual, and how can I bring more of my original, like intuitive, authentic energy to that and ask myself, what do I want to create? And so I love that. Yeah. I just started doing a lot of altar building that was, what wants to come through me, not like, what should I do and what crystals should I have?
There's so many shoulds in there. Like so many times we're like, I want to do it right. So I better figure out what everybody else is doing or something. Yeah. I was listening to Abraham Hicks the other day and, they were saying something just about that we just keep consuming and trying to understand and learn. And then there's a point when you can just stop and just be, and then just listen.
And start to ask yourself, what do I already know that I want? I think those tools that we learn from other people really help us connect to that power in ourselves. And then the invitation is to get creative with it in an original way where it becomes our own and we start to be in touch with the mastery within ourselves. So that ritual can, look like more than
mastery within ourselves.
Yes.
Everybody has it. You have it. You have it. You have it.
We all have it.
Yes.
We have, we all have intuition. As a coach, I actually get a lot of people asking me, how do I build my intuition? How do I build my feminine power? And men and women, actually more men, I would say, because it feels like I don't have that.
Yeah.
But we do. We all have it. We're born with it. And
men are more doers, I think. And so they're not as like going within, maybe? Is that why? Or what is it? What's your theory anyway?
My theory is, we learn to survive from a very early age based on whatever is adaptive to our environment from the ego's perspective. And that, and that's very natural. And so for men, a lot of that is, this is how you operate as a man. You have drive, you're action oriented, you are success oriented, and you need to be physically strong. You need to take care of other people. And so from a really early place, that intuitive voice it's just not important to survival. So people don't nurture that.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah. And then for women too, it does get celebrated more. We are expected to caretake and to sense other people's needs. And that is intuitive. And it's one of our superpowers. I mean, intuition is absolutely every human being's superpower, one of a few. But when we still don't really, until we're really in our power and we're intentional, I love your focus on intention here, until we're intentional with that relationship with our intuition, we we fall short of it being in this really strong, empowered, original direction that's true to ourselves and self-honoring. And so that's where the next step comes in, I think, for women. But we can all go a bit deeper, and we all have it.
Yeah. How do you feel? I was thinking about men, and, do you think that it can ever get confused with like habits that you've already become accustomed to and mistaking that for intuition? Like, have you experienced that? Because I feel like I have too.
Yes. And that is the big conundrum. And it's something I think no matter how, maybe I shouldn't say that. We can get really, really clear on our intuitive guidance and our intuitive voice. And still there will be work to do on distinguishing that from patterning with aversions, attachments, addictions. Like those energies are going to pull us.
Patterns too. I feel like I just had one come up where I was questioning, like, am I operating? It was with my daughter. And I was like, am I operating as a mom from my intuition, of what I think the right thing to do here is? Or was it just the way I've done it in the past? And I'm still a little struggling with that. But what I did seemed to work and resonate with her. So it brought out her truth more. So I'm guessing maybe it was right, but it's hard to know. Like, I'm still...
Yeah, I think the thing that comes up for me that's helpful when I'm trying to figure out, is this just the way I think I want to do it because that's the way I've always done it?
Right.
And I have
that's
the
what
programming
I mean. Yes.
that I'm getting a yes, but I'm getting it because of my programming. And,
right.
and
so that's the easy way. We've done it before that. We know that,
Yes. And so it's like, I think something that's helped me is kind of running the experiment. If I feel like, so one way for me to connect to, is this right for me, and get clear on that intuitive guidance, is feeling the yes in my body and feeling the no in my body. And sometimes the yes in your body will be programmed off of that patterning in your life. So, but there tends to be just a whisper of a doubt. If it's not in alignment with that deep intuitive voice, it's like, I'm not sure. Intuition for me always feels very sure, even if there's a little bit of fear, perhaps there's like a whisper of certainty. And when you're going against it, there's a whisper of doubt. And so when it's unclear, experimenting, like going with the yes and seeing how you feel afterwards, seeing what you learn, if you realize like, oh, I didn't feel good after that, or I learned something from that. Now I know that that's probably linked to something that I'm just conditioned to say yes to. And next time I'm going to run the experiment. And when I feel unsure, I'm going to say no, or go this other direction and see how that feels for me.
I've been thinking of everything as an experiment lately. Do you?
I love that. I don't do it as enough, really. It's a really good outlook.
I like it. I've been trying to encourage people to just do it as an experiment. And like this year on New Year's, I had like an experience where I just was like, fine, do I want another year where I doubt shit, or do I want a year where I like just try a grand experiment of just like deep belief in like, my purpose and my relationship and what I'm doing and everything. I'm like, okay.
Yes.
So I just felt called to do it. So I was like, fine, I'll just do an experiment just for a year. I mean, what if?
Yeah.
Can you lose in that?
Right. I don't think so. And I think also when you're brave, even if it doesn't go the way that you imagine it will, or
there's no way it's going to go the way I imagine. It's going to, you know what? When you trust that much and jump in and allow, like you were saying, then you can't predict.
Yeah, you can't predict, but that gesture towards life that's like, I'm going to be brave and try this unfamiliar thing, or I'm going to, run the experiment and just give myself the permission and the freedom to try something out. I feel like that is always energetically rewarded in life. You still feel good about what you did, even if the outcome is like completely surprising or not exactly what you wanted.
Yes, I've already been surprised with some things in the best way, right?
Yeah.
And how are you feeling about jumping in more to, I know you got your new website and everything like that. So like what comes up? Are you having the fear? Where's your fear and your intuition around that?
Oh man. Yes. So being that we're talking about intuition, that I think I've been focused on this more recently because it is something that I have obscured in myself for such a long time, because I have this programming towards, social validation. And that was really deeply rooted from an early age. And so it has inhibited my creative expression in many ways that I was unconscious
Okay,
of.
go a little deeper on that.
Yeah. So I have noticed, I do have, I love my life. It's beautiful, abundant. However, and I should say, not
And?
however, and there's more I want to do, and there's more I want to express and share in this life, and particularly through writing. But there is that inner critic that is never quite ready to step into it fully, because she's afraid of it not being perfect, it not being received the way that, she hopes it will be received, and all of these energies of restriction that really inhibit that expression. And so getting in touch with, through this creative process, as I move into, launching my website, I'm working on writing a manuscript right now, and finishing this book that's been kind of my heart project for a really long time, and just stepping into the vulnerable space of sharing my poetry and my written work on top of everything that I'm already doing. It's so much has come up, like so much discomfort and a lot of resistance, and I create challenges and obstacles for myself. But all the creative block, classic stuff that you hear about, it's really strong when it's your dharma and it's the thing that you want the most for yourself. And so that fear can definitely get in the way of that confident personal empowerment that's seated in the original self, in that intuitive guidance. And yeah, a lot comes up for me. It's really fascinating. I find it like I feel like we're all adult, big children. We have these inner pieces that are just still so deeply programmed with what we learned and what was hard for us as little children. And so as we step into, whether that's intuitive guidance or, the career of our dreams or our creative passion, a lot of that original programming that inhibited us at an early age starts to really get loud, even though you feel like I've done all the work, I'm ready, I want it. And there's still a piece of yourself that's like, I don't want it, I'm scared, So I've been contending with that a lot recently. And it's been an interesting journey.
It is an interesting journey. And as long as we learn from it, because you're speaking my language. I mean, that's what this show is all about. And I love, you said it so beautifully in your own way. And I know that's going to resonate with a lot of people, because I feel that I've dealt with it too for years, even now, with this show and stuff. I've had stuff come up, and you not only do all that programming and stuff, but then you just start to go, does it even matter? What am I doing? Just all the questions, all the questions that you can just, and then you just have to push them aside. So that said, what intuitive rituals, what are you implementing practically to overcome that stuff? So,
there's a few things. My intuitive ritual practice is actually, it involves my dream. So I have an altar.
Me too.
Yes.
I love my altar.
I love it too. It's like my portal to self, really. It feels, it is the portal to the divine, and it's the portal to the divine in here. And I feel the most connected when I sit and allow myself total freedom and space to drop into that area and really connect. And so for that particular space relating to my dreams and my goals right now, I have items. I have a bottle of ink on there. Ooh. I have different items that symbolize my current project. And what I do is I kind of incorporate that into my relationship with the muse. So creatively, if I sit to write, I like to welcome in, the book itself as an entity. And this can be done with any, your show or anything, your business, your dream, allowing yourself to treat it like you are incubating it, and giving birth to it, male or female, whoever you are, and really engage the spirit of the work as a person or as a, deity or whatever, and ask it, please show me what you want to say. Please, come move through me and use me to come into this world. And so prayer for me in that regard has been a beautiful thing. I also love being imaginative with just the muse herself. Like when I can give some characteristics to these pieces that I'm working with creatively. So the muse is that flow state, that channel of creative power. And if I make her somebody that I can engage, like, please help me, please guide me, please be here with me, just like you would call in, your guides or your soul or whatever. Treating her that way feels really good. Aside from that too, I just love getting into nature or really anywhere in life and listening to, I feel like there's this knowing field, this sort of divine collaboration happening at all times. And, some people say there's no such thing as coincidences. There's communication happening to us at all times. And when we're really in our minds, we aren't listening to it. So as much as I can drop into presence and listen to what life is showing me or inviting me to or inspiring me with, it all just flows a lot more smoothly.
I like what you said about, I want to back up just a tiny bit too, about, asking the work what wants to be said. I think something about that takes the pressure off, because I've started to think of, now we're going deep into metaphysics or something, but I've started thinking, I've thought about time a long time for my whole life. I'm fascinated by time and the existence or non-existence of it. And so, if everything exists all at once, perhaps as some theories state, then the work that you're talking about already exists. So you simply do just have to tap into what it says and then just... Wow. I don't know. You're part of its fruition, but it already exists. So I don't know if I'm phrasing this right, but 100%. I've started to think that some of these things already exist. I've changed my inner dialogue when I say, how am I going to pay for X, right? This thing that maybe I want or something, or need to pay for it. And then I would say, I don't know how I'm going to pay for that, so many times, but I've changed that. And I go, and this could apply to I don't know how I'm going to write that. I don't know what it's going to say, whatever you want, insert any, I don't know phrase. And then I think, well, actually I do know, because I am going to have done it and it might already exist. So I know how. And then I'm maybe I just don't know that I know how.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, you just haven't written the words yet. You know how.
Totally.
You have that whole book right there, wherever it's
incredible.
In there somewhere.
I love that you brought that up. So much to speak to intuition. It is drawing from the field within you, that deeper level of consciousness, the soul level, whatever you want to call it, that already knows where time does not exist, and it's all it's
I just
all
got
the
chills.
same.
Yes.
And I love that you're even just coming online to awareness with that is such a game changer. And I actually worked with a mentor recently who did a beautiful ritual with me, who and I think people will enjoy this, but you envision yourself in this state. So for me, it's signing the contract on my book, for example.
Okay.
And you get into a sensory experience where you are tasting, smelling, seeing everything in that environment.
Okay.
And you write it out as though it is happening. I am a very present moment kind of position. And it's a bit of time weaving, because what you now have done is you've created a memory in your mind of a future experience.
Yes.
So you're and
doesn't Joe Dispenza talk about this or somebody? Yeah. Okay.
It's our magic that we do. We think is it's very ordinary to us, because we do it all the time. We remember the past and we imagine the future, whether that's through excitement or worry. And we can take control over that and use it for our creative manifestation.
Yeah.
So it's really, really juicy.
But this seems a little different than imagining. You're actually creating it as a memory.
That's kind of the idea of it.
Yeah.
So once it's in your mind, it's as real as any other memory. You know, I mean, of course you've lived those and experienced them, but now they exist in your memory. So it is living in the same space as memory, and it's living in the future as this potential or very, very real future reality. And so you can come to that space over and over again. And it seems very simplistic, right? Because we get into our imaginations constantly, but imagination, like intuition, is one of our human superpowers that we can use intentionally and make reality from it. There's nothing here in our physical reality that was not imagined by somebody else.
Right.
So if we connect to the fact that
some genius imagined this microphone,
yes, that everything was imagined, then why inhibit our own imagination from something like, you know, signing a book contract? Like, this is a lot more advanced than that,
Yes.
you know, but I'm like, oh, I don't know if that'll ever happen. Of course it can happen. Let me allow myself to feel that as a truth in the future.
Feel it as a truth that's already happened, because maybe it exists already.
Yeah, maybe it exists already.
I mean, maybe it's not a maybe.
I love that. Elizabeth Gilbert talks about that in her book. I think it's Big Magic. That ideas, they're alive. They're in, you know, and she's not the only one that's proposed this theory, but it feels very true. And that's why you see so many, you may have like this lightning bolt idea and you're like, oh, that would be so awesome. And then 3-6 months later, you don't do it because it was just like this crazy idea that you had. And there it is. Somebody else did it. Because it's up there waiting for the right person to birth it into the world.
Things hit at the same time, whatever they are. It happens in fashion all the time. Like the same houses will do like the same look or whatever. And they're like, it's just happening, right?
Yeah.
It's just the giant muse. I love that. I've actually, not only have I changed, like, I don't know, like to, I know, because it does get done. I always know. I always figure it out. But I've changed like my inner saying of, I can't believe it. Do you say that?
Sometimes, yeah.
You got to cut that out.
Show me the way, Amy. What should I say instead?
I can believe it.
I can believe it.
Of course. Yeah. Justin and I have like totally changed that now. And we just, every time I feel like, you know, so astonished with something, I go, I can believe it. I can believe it. Because then you're feeding that message of like, oh yeah, I believe this. And it's just keeping coming out.
That's building that relationship of trust with that environment and that guidance that's happening. I think of this often, like if there's energy informing us. And when we are in our minds and egos and we're not paying attention to it and we're not saying thank you and like, of course, and all of these things, imagine being in that the seat of that intelligence and just never feeling seen. As soon as you start to feel seen, you're like, yes, I want to give you more because you see me. You know, like I think of that relationship. Gratitude does that, and if affirmations do that, and just really being in that space of confidence starts to build that relationship where you're experiencing abundance and you're experiencing rapid manifestation because you're in agreement to it, you know.
So.
Girl, 100% for you.
It's part of our grand experiment, Caitlin. Absolutely. So I want to get something a little more recent too, and just find out what it went on with you, because I know you had an ayahuasca journey, really powerful. And I'm wondering, you know, in hindsight, as it was what, January
3rd.
Yeah. So this will be 2 months after. So I don't know. I was just curious, like, you know, what your grand takeaways were from that, because I know those are really powerful. I've talked some about plant medicines, and I encourage people to just, like you said earlier, something about tools and, you know, studying other people and that kind of thing, and plant medicines too. They're all tools to get us to the same place, which is that being, that knowing, and that free, alive, energetic, open space of love, really, and joy and bliss. And so, you know, that's the goal. That's the end goal. So I just, I thought it's interesting for people, because I know a lot of people are very scared of plant medicines and things like that. And so I talked some about it, but I was just hoping maybe you'd
I would love
chime
to
in about
dive
it.
into that. So I've had a number of different deep plant medicine journeys spanning about 10 years. This was my 10th through 14th ayahuasca ceremonies. They were over a span of a few different retreats.
And if people don't know, you go several days in a row, and it's a
Yes.
cumulative effect. Yeah.
Yes. So this was in Costa Rica, lovely place called Soltara. I highly recommend.
I wanna
for
go.
a first timer, especially if anyone's curious about this and wants to feel very, very held and medically supported and with a really nice pre and post integration experience. They're wonderful. But you go, you prepare with the dieta. So you really simplify your diet. You kind of position yourself with intention and purification towards receiving this master plant medicine into your physical form. And it opens up a lot of messages. And the beautiful thing about ayahuasca is it is such a dynamic medicine. It's also a big undertaking. And so it is natural. And for people to be a bit intimidated by it because it's deep. You
Mhm.
can experience purging, through vomiting or
Through any
crying or
way.
any which way you can imagine. And you can have visions, you can have a very somatic or emotional experience, and it can be very gentle. And the intelligence of this medicine is, they say ayahuasca knows what you need. And this is generally true with many medicines. However, there is a such thing as too much too soon, with some of these things. So it's really, really important to be educated and guided and held in a space that you feel really safe. And I would, before I dive into the experience, I'd just like to say, I do believe that we can access these experiences in other ways. It is not only plant medicine, but it is a very big catalyst to get to a much deeper place without, doing years and years of work. And
Well, I talked
and
in my
having faster healing.
first couple episodes about the breathwork ceremony that we did in Sedona, and they're
Yes.
like, it's as powerful as plant medicine. I was like, sure. And then I had a total meltdown, which you were there for me, and thank
Yeah.
you. And so, there's plenty of other ways, including like breathwork and
Yeah.
a lot of things to delve into. So,
Yeah. So I felt called to go back this year, particularly for one, it was a really crazy year for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody had, some people had really beautiful years, but it was challenging in different ways for all of us in 2020. So that in and of itself made me curious to go deeper into this spiritual experience. And my father passed away very suddenly over the summer. I was holding a lot of, I felt very blocked emotionally and creatively in many ways because of that grief was just kind of being protected by my system so much. And so plant medicines can really help break open the shell if you're feeling very blocked emotionally and having a hard time understanding what's holding you back.
That's a good point. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Sometimes we need a little help. And these are big helpers.
Just a push.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and I did have some resistance, I've sat with this medicine many times, so I'm a lot more comfortable than I was when I began, but I don't take it lightly. I allow a lot of time to go between these experiences for integration and just to trust myself and my human process.
I do the same thing with mine. Like, I don't like them too close together, and I don't like I don't know. I think it's important to be intentional, really intentional, and integrative, whatever.
Yeah.
Focus on your integration. Yeah.
Very much so. And so I'd gone in 2019 and I felt a little too early for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was also some fear there. There's a bit of trepidation. You're going into this, you're going to connect with yourself in a way that might be hard to look at, and so I went and
you had a lot going on in that time span though.
Yeah,
so I mean,
and I've been, there's a lot. Relationships, all the things. So I was curious and I was a little nervous, but this time my big takeaway is what it is there in particular is 2 ceremonies, 2 nights in a row. You have a night off and then you have 2 more nights. And so I brought very simple prayers this time. I used to be super specific and I wanted, I want to talk to my grandfather and I want to do the X, Y, and Z. And I have to know the answer to this question, this like unanswerable question. This time it was very simple. For the first night, I brought in, thank you. Just like, let me give this to the medicine. It's been a beautiful, like 10-year journey of living. Life is ultimately very good in spite of the challenges that come up. Let me just bring a thank you and start there.
Ooh, I like that.
And that night was gentle. My second night was please help me. So it was thank you, please help me, please show me, please guide me.
Ooh, this is like a takeoff on Ho'oponopono.
Yeah, it's kind of like a twist. I didn't even connect to that. Thank you. I love you. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Yeah. So thank you. Please help me. Please show me. Please guide me. And please help me night was...
That sounds like it's going to be rough. When you ask for help, they're like, okay, I'll help you.
It was extraordinary though. I had shared with the shaman that were there. They came in from Peru. They're Shipibo, beautiful people. Just how I was holding this grief, and I felt so heavy in my system. And it was, trying to describe the ayahuasca experience is really difficult because it's ineffable, but the arc of my experience was such that I felt a lot of physical activation, like I did, I mentioned earlier it's very somatic for me, my body does its own thing. It almost feels like the medicine it's like she's gotten into, and we associate ayahuasca with the feminine. She's like the grandmother medicine for anyone who's listening. But it's like she's gotten to get into a body and she's investigating and going to these spaces to kind of check you out and working on you. They call it the doctorcitas, which is like, or doctorcitos. It's like the little doctors. But they're like energetically, and you can feel it moving around your body, it'll go to my hip or go to my face.
Weird.
Yeah. And it can be very, kind of strange or scary feeling when you don't expect that. You're like, what is my body doing? And then when you soften into, the medicine's working, it's a lot more curious. You get to recognize, I have a blockage here. It's like getting energy work internally. So that was cool. a beautiful piece of it. And then I had my very first ego death experience. And I thought I'd had this before
with Bufo or something.
Yeah. And so Bufo, 5-MeO DMT is an ego death experience. But for me, in comparison, I shouldn't say it was the very first. To me, Bufo feels almost like obliteration, like you are shot on a roller coaster and ego's gone and then you're back.
That's exactly what it is. Yes.
Shooting out on the roller coaster, the ego's gone and then you're back.
Rocket ship.
Ship. That's a better word than roller coaster. It's a rocket ship. And so with Aya, it's more of a slow ramp. And then you like a longer experience. These experiences last, around 6 hours. And I never had that experience on ayahuasca. I never had a total annihilation of my sense of self.
Just a crossing over into.
Yeah. And it was
being with
really uncomfortable at first. And it showed me where I was fearful because I walked into the ceremony like I've done this so many times. I'm not even afraid. And then it was like this medicine took me to the very edge of where my doubt was about my stories. That was the big thing. It was like, what if nothing's real? And what if everything you believe in? Because I'm so belief oriented. It really took me to that edge of self-doubt and an existential doubt that was terrifying to me. And as I'm in this space of discomfort of like, we all just make up stories. None of this is real. And all the things that I would never normally feel or think. And just feeling total, I merged with the all, there's no body, there is no Caitlin, there is nothing. The shaman came to my mat at that, just like a moment later, and he starts to do my healing with the mapacho, which is Peruvian tobacco, and it's rolled up and they cleanse your energy filled with this smoke. And he knew about my grief with my father. And I think there was a lot of fear in my grief too, because my dad's passed over and he's the first person that's been really close to me. And there's that really deep fear of like, what if he's just gone, and that was really, really heavy to face that in myself of what if everything I believe in isn't real and he's just totally gone. And the shaman starts singing to me and cleansing my field with this smoke. And my body just sat up and I opened my eyes and I could see the energy field with my eyes open and my soul. I could get goosebumps thinking about it. And it's so hard to describe, but around my body, I think some of us or many of us think of like the soul within ourselves. We are within the soul. And so I could see it like this wild golden energy, just like, and he's pulling it back into me with the smoke and singing me back. And so I start smiling and tears are rolling down my face. And I could see everything with my eyes open, and all of that doubt was resolved in that moment of that I had just been in. Like I went to that edge of my deepest fear. And then he brought me back into a felt experience that was like, I know now. And so I can carry forward in my life with confidence in everything that I believe in, and with a true relationship that isn't imagined or there isn't holding doubt. And so that was massive. That was the biggest gift of the medicine. And the third night, please show me. I prayed, please show me anything that's keeping me from really claiming my potential here, and I thought it would be like vision, like really clear, like, I'd see some kind of dreamscape where it's like, this is what you're doing wrong. And, no, it was all emotion. So this was my other big takeaway was, there was a lot of truth that I was holding, heartache and sadness and stuff. And I'm a pretty positive person. So I don't allow myself, I think, to sit in those heavier emotions for very long. Because not even that I don't allow, I'm able to pull myself back into beauty and gratitude really
Same
easily.
Here, yeah.
And the medicine sat me in those heavy emotions for the whole night. And I was kind of, at first I was like, no, I want to go back to soul land, but I was just weeping all night long, and it was so cathartic. And, I asked, I asked the medicine with, I could feel these wounds that I was carrying for years and years that really still affected me. And I had no idea. I thought I was like over it, and I asked the medicine, what do I do about this? And the answer was this: you feel it. You have to feel it.
Yeah.
You have to let yourself feel it. And that was another big gift of this medicine journey was, we can say all day like, oh, I want to feel my feelings, but it's not easy to force. Our bodies, our psyches are so good at protecting us from pain and discomfort. We sometimes really need a big assist from medicine or breath or whatever the modality may be to really connect to those really hard to feel emotions, because our psyche is going to do its masterful job at protecting us from feeling that. And so that was something that I very much appreciated. It was like a big cathartic purge of this deeply, deeply buried emotion. And I came back feeling just so connected with the world and so grateful for my life and my physical form and the beauty and the taste and the community that we get to experience as a human being. And so it was an extraordinary gift, and it's been a good year so far.
I'm glad you shared it. Thank you. One of the things too that I noticed when you were talking about finding your edges, and you had texted me that when I had that breakdown with breath work, and you were like, consider this an opportunity to find your edges. And I just thought that was an interesting phrase. I hadn't really heard it before. And so I've still stuck with that sometimes, just those opportunities. For me, the finding your edges means like, where's that resistance, and where can I allow more? I've kind of moved away from the word surrender into the word allow. And, just where can I like allow and find those edges. Well, how do you define that concept? I just want to touch on that really quick.
I love that. I love that you're oriented towards that. And that's, I think the word consciousness it's lost a lot of its charge because we use like the conscious path. Or consciousness is, it's a word that's used a lot, but really to me, it means knowing where my edges are, and we have to get to them, and not only that, there's many aspects of consciousness, but it's awareness really. It's if I don't know that I'm terrified of this, if I don't know, like, for example, for me, if I don't know that I have existential doubt that in my own beliefs, I'm not conscious of it. So this is running deeply in my system and kind of affecting how I'm
subconsciously affecting you, for sure.
Affecting how I make decisions, affecting how much I allow myself to move in confidence in the goals that I have and the relationships that I have. And so the path of consciousness is like really seeking those edges where we don't want to be sometimes because we're scared or we're in pain or we're in an emotion that we don't define as good. And allowing ourselves to be in that space enough to just know that we're going to be okay and hopefully take a step beyond that and really like move and expand our expression to where we know, what's on the other side of this boundary that I have around myself that I'm not even aware of. So yeah, seeking those edges, and you can feel it when you feel an instant no, or when this gets into shadow work too. A lot of what we judge or what we say, like, I would never do that, there's probably an edge in there. There's probably something that we could explore within ourselves that, needs a little bit of attention. But yeah, seeking those out and really getting clear on, where am I limited and how can I take one little step to lean into that and see what more I can embody and hold and experience while I'm here.
Yeah. And just asking why when you experience those resistance too. Because I was thinking about, people saying no to plant medicines or whatever. And like, okay, why? What is that edge right there that causes you to resist or say no? It doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
But just what do you think you might discover that maybe you don't?
Totally. And I think that is the great human fear, is the unknown, right? So typically the edge is on the known for us. It's what it's anything beyond that. And that's why plant medicine sounds so terrifying to most people, I think, is because that's way too, I don't know what's going to happen to me in there. I can't control it. And so we're constantly seeking to control our experiences by staying safe. And
there's an edge of letting go of control.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
In anything. And it's a really good life lesson.
Yeah.
Because you really can't control it anyway, even no matter how much we think we are.
Control is an illusion.
It is a grand illusion. And one that is easy to cling to when you get up in your head and out of your intuition. Because I'm bringing it back to intuition because we're getting close to time. So I know I got hit with like what we should name the episode too. It was like something about like how to use your intuitive superpower or something. I like that you called it a superpower.
Yeah, I love thinking. I love allowing ourselves to really connect to the magic of what we are, and that includes intuition, awareness, imagination. These are extraordinary things that we are used to. The fact that we go to sleep and dream, like we think that's normal. And then when we hear about anything else magical, we're like, oh, that's magic. Well, we are living magic every single day. So when we can connect to that, it gets really exciting and empowering, I think,
It absolutely does. So is there anything we missed today that you want to touch on before we go? Anything that calls to you or?
I mean, I don't know. I feel this has been really beautiful. I think, yeah.
How's it feel intuitively? I mean, I'm going to tell everyone they can find you at The Poet Queen, poetqueen.com and on Instagram at The Poet Queen. How's it feel stepping into that title? Because you changed it since I've known you in the last 6 months or so, I think.
I'm happy you asked me that. It was it feels wonderful. It feels like me claiming something that I've been nervous to claim because it would require that I share my work and that I embody, I think it's really
And you're calling yourself a queen, which you are.
Yes.
Which I am.
We all
are kings.
And we all have that invitation to claim our divinity, our royalty, our personal empowerment. But it was a really good feeling. And it was a little bit, there's been moments where I'm like, am I really living up to that? Like, I'm going to claim it. I know that I am, but it's a call to action for me to embody what I represent publicly.
And like a reminder and a call to action, right?
Yes. And these are archetypical. So one thing, there was a little bit of small self-ego that's like, well, don't call yourself a queen. You're not the whole queen.
Of course there is.
Everything. But we all have the queen inside and we all have the poet inside. The poet is like the archetypical lover. This is the appreciator of beauty. This is the archetypical energy that loves life just as it is and can make art from anything. So what I did with that little phrase was just really try to encapsulate that, being in my fullest empowered, unique expression. So everyone's queen or king is going to be that unique signature in its full uninhibited expression and its full power. And everyone's poet is going to be that lover and that, appreciator of beauty and that person that can connect to the art that's presenting itself to us every single day. So that's what that encapsulates.
Presenting itself. That's right, because it already exists.
It already exists.
I would like to take this moment to encourage people to step into some sort of title if you're feeling it, because it's hard to do because there's the aspect of ego where you have to both step into it and out of it or something like that. But I've done it too and, kind of changed my moniker. And it was just a little bit of a leap past that edge. And as you made too. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. And just saying it, can make it true. So Go ahead. I had a life coach encourage me to do stuff like that and just call myself a writer or an author or whatever it is. Way back, it was like 10 or 12 years ago. And it was such like a scary thing for me, because then you're like, well, then everybody's going to think you have imposter syndrome around that. And everybody's going to think I'm like a fucking joke or something, and like, so you have to just get past that and go, who cares?
Yeah. And it's a good way to hold
my call to
yourself
action.
Accountable. Exactly. Yes. Like I changed my name, so I better show up to the work.
I better show up to the work.
I better embody.
Exactly. Oh, I love it so much. Well, everyone can find you at The Poet Queen on Instagram, poetqueen.com. And then, of course, you are a coach with Fit for Service, which I am proud to be a member of. Yes. And that is through Aubrey Marcus.
AubreyMarcus.com/fit for service. And we have an app, Fit for Service Academy, in the App Store where I'm posting challenges and connecting with people daily. So lots of ways.
Oh, really? You're posting on there daily?
Well, no, I'm connecting with people daily. So engaging.
Oh, good.
But I'm posting periodically.
Yeah.
So I have a shadow work thread in the app as
Very
well.
Nice.
So for people, we are a limited capacity group with the fellowship, but for people who can't.
Yes, that's what I'm in the fellowship.
Yeah,
but anyone can join the academy now and get on that app. And there's so much great stuff. And the community itself is really valuable.
Yeah.
I found it to be. It's just like-minded individuals and a collective.
Yes.
And so
that's
it's really
how we're
beautiful.
here together.
And that's
right
how
now
I know.
In our sisterhood. It's so wonderful.
I know. I'm so incredibly grateful. And thank you for sitting down and doing this today.
It's an honor. Really. I love you so much. Thank you for having me.
You're such a magic babe. Thank you so much for being here. Big thanks again to Caitlin. I love her so much. Love her. And to ourselves for this intuitive superpower. How badass is that? So don't forget what I said in the intro about tuning into yourself and even let your eyeballs explore inside you. As weird as that is, I mean, what the hell? Experiment with it. Give it a shot. Why not? Right? I mean, what's the worst that can happen? We imagine our eyeballs floating around inside of us. They come back. They go right back in your head. I promise. And so I just wanted to give like a gentle reminder to just maybe do that. Tune in. And also, if you remember last week, I did a solo episode that was how to make your life rock. And I wrote it all down in a PDF that is free on my website. So I have a whole guide just for you. Like I said, I would. I'm really proud of myself for getting that done, by the way. So go there to my website, amyedwards.com. And basically you just click. It's right there at the top. You can click, or you can click on resources. And all you have to do is enter your email and join my mailing list. And that's it. And I do not bombard you with emails. I promise. I'm going to start sending one every single week about these podcasts. And so I'm really excited. And just like some thoughts from my heart, like the chakra thing. Who knows what it'll be, but it's always stuff that's coming straight from my heart. And so I'm just speaking from my heart too, just so excited that you have chosen to be here and spend your time here and up-level your own life. So thank you so much for that. All right. So business-wise, what else do we need to cover? We just need to do the rate, review, subscribe thing. Hell yeah. Again, my website is amy@amyedwards.com. If you want to write to me, do it. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think. It's amy@amyedwards.com. And then you can also connect with me on Instagram at Real Amy Edwards. That is not the best and most effective place to message me. Email is way better because I can lose track of things on Instagram. It's hard. It's a little tricky. And if I don't get to it in time, they'll fall off if I'm not following you yet. So anyway, also got to just shout out Hot Pie, got to shout out our awesome crew that's here helping, and Hot Pie Media and all the incredible stuff that they've still got coming out all the time. So I encourage you to check that out. And I'm really stoked to be here as well and a part of this fam and a part of our own like life rocking fam too. So thank yourself for just, I don't know, tuning in and working on yourself. That's badass. That's fucking amazing. So thank you so much. And here's wishing you, next week we've got coming up to Satsang. He is an incredible artist, music artist. And I'm so excited to share his message. His music is really powerful. He's from Montana and he's a total badass. So anyway, looking forward to that. And until then, much love, light, health, wealth, success, intuition, superpower, everything to you and yours. I love you. Till next time.
Thanks for listening. You can find more episodes and all other Hot Pie Media originals baked fresh daily at our home on the web at hotpiemedia.com, the Hot Pie Media YouTube channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts.